Hello there. I hope that you are okay and that you can hear me clearly. I just want to share a word of encouragement to someone today. Um, and it's titled, You're Gonna Be Okay. You will be okay. And I'm sharing this word out of my experience and my journey, and just sharing, what I experienced and what I have learned from the lessons of being in the wilderness, and to encourage somebody who will also be going through the same right now. They could be in their season of wilderness, navigating challenges and trials in life, and they could be asking themselves, will it be okay? They are worried about their future. If maybe perhaps you are jobless and you're asking, will I get a job? Will I ever settle down? Will I get married? Will I have children? Will I get well? If you're suffering from long-term illness, you have all these uncertainties and worries that have encroached your heart, and they're robbing up of your peace and joy that we are supposed to have as children of God, you know. So I just want to share with you maybe my journey a little bit so that you can be able to see how God works and how God moves, and to confirm to you that it's going to be okay in your life as well. So, first of all, maybe just to share a little bit of my story is that I have faced unemployment in various times in my life. There are moments where I had been out of job. So there are moments where I was facing, the uncertainties of life concerning my career and finances. And I will ask myself, will I really get a job and just settle in it? Because I've worked in short-term jobs, contract jobs that have ended, and there was all of this instability, when it came to my career, and I wondered whether I would settle down well. And there have also been moments where, for those who know my story, that I have been a single mom for a while. Thankfully, I'm now married. But for that period, I was asking myself, will I get the right person really? Because yes, I did meet some people. Some were serious, most of them weren't, and some just wanted to take advantage of me. And I will ask myself, will I ever really find the right person who will love me for me and take me for me? Just take my package, I mean, my kids, genuinely, without trying to attach it to something else. And there are all these moments, when I couldn't pay my rent, when I felt rejected, when I felt unloved, when I felt that nothing is gonna work out in my life, you know and yet I was a Christian, and I was wondering, why are all these things happening? And this could be your situation right now. You're wondering why things not working out in your finances, in your career, in your relationships, stroke love life. You're wondering why things are not settled yet. I'm here to tell you, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. In God's timing, He's gonna make it right. In God's timing, He's gonna make it right. So for those who know my story, by now you know that I'm settled. I'm married to a very loving, God-fearing man, a man that only God could give me. And I'll share in another session, of how God brought him into my life. And of course, God helped me out in my career. I got jobs after that. Some were contractual, and some have lasted, like where I am. I'm still, working at this place, my third year here. So God has a way of settling people, no matter the jungle, no matter the wilderness that, you are facing in your life. And one of the things that I just want to share, some of the things that I learned in that journey, and how God was, how God worked in my life during that period, and the lessons that He taught me. And the first thing is that, sometimes it's our choices that take us to the wilderness and not God's will. The choices that we make, they throw us off in the wilderness. I remember, when I was living in a can we stay marriage, with my ex baby daddy, and I had my second child then, and we were living together, acting married. And life wasn't what I thought it was, and this wasn't the person who, he didn't turn out to be the person that I thought. And I will ask myself, God, how did I get here? Why am I here? And God gave me a revelation. It's not really His will that made me end up there. It was my choice. So I had to come to that acknowledgement that my choice took me there. And maybe you're at a place where you're wondering what is happening. And you could even be blaming God and saying, God, why are you allowing this? But sorry to say, it could be your choice that took you there. But I'm not here to tell you that you're damned and there is no hope for you. I'm not here to even judge you or condemn you. I'm just here to awaken us to the light, and also to proclaim to you the mercy and the love of God, that despite the choices that you made that took you where you're not supposed to be, that God is able to draw you back. God is able to lift you out of that place where you are. So I'm living with this guy, like married people. Life is not how I expected it to be. He wasn't a believer. He was a believer in the, I'll say, face value, but in terms of character and habits, it wasn't. And it wasn't the easiest of the relationship that I had experienced. I had my fair share of trials there. And I always had this nagging feeling, that I made the wrong choice, But, God was patient with me during that period. And so it was during that wilderness period that God would draw me closer to him, If you read the book of Hosea, from chapter 1, chapter 2, it talks about, how God lovingly brought back Israel, or he used an analogy to describe how the children of Israelites had deserted him, had gone to other idols, and how he was putting a hedge around them of thorns so that they're not able to go after their gods. And he used the analogy of an adulterous woman, of an adulterous wife, who will go after other lovers, but God will put a hedge of thorns around her so that she's not able to go after her lovers, and it is during that time that God will speak tenderly to her, If you read the book of Hosea chapter 2, if you find time, please go through it. Let me just read verse 6. Chapter 2, verse 6 says, "Therefore I will hedge up her way with thorns, and I will build a wall against her, so that she cannot find her parts. She shall pursue her lovers, but not overtake them. And she shall seek them, but shall not find them. Then she shall say, I will go and return to my first husband, for it was better with me then than now." So sometimes God will put a roadblock around your life. You know why? So that you don't keep on being unfaithful. So that you don't keep on doing, what you've been doing, habitual sin that doesn't please him. Sometimes God will put a roadblock. That roadblock might look like a pregnancy, for instance. Maybe you've just been running up and down your life. Pop, God gives you a pregnancy. Yeah, to just kind of, keep you calm. Or you end up in a relationship that literally closes you up, in the sense that it becomes, you go through a period of trials such that you learn from your mistakes and you don't want to repeat them again, So it is during that period when I was living with, my ex, and, God gave me the scripture. I actually stumbled upon it for the first time, and I felt that was what God was saying to me, putting thorns around me so that I'm able to just settle down and be still, and go back to him and hear his voice once again, and return to my first love. But you see, the beautiful thing about God is that he doesn't end it there with you, because he always has a plan for restoration. The same book in Hosea chapter 2, verse 14, it says, "Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. And there I will give her vineyards and make the valley of Anchor a door of hope. And there she shall answer as in the days of her youth, and as at the time when she came out of the land of Egypt." So what is God saying? He will allure her into the wilderness, speak tenderly to her, and he will give her her vineyards, the vineyards that the Lord took away from her. He will give her back her vineyards. So God always has a plan for restoration. And it doesn't mean if you're going through that period of trial that is the end for you, that there is no door out, that you'll be stuck there. No, just keep walking with God. So the other thing that I learned from that situation, which I've just mentioned, is that God knows how to turn around that situation. He knows how to get you out of that place. It doesn't matter how far you've gone, how deep you've gone in that situation. Whether you ran away with someone, sijui mkaenda wapi, how many years you've been together, no matter how much you've messed up your life, you've entered into drug addiction and you're all this messed up situation around you, God knows how to get you out of that situation. And trust me, He knows how and He knows the plan. But the next thing you're going to do is going to be patient. You have to be patient because sometimes God will take His time with you in that period. He's trying to teach you new ways. He's trying to make you see and learn from your mistakes. He's trying to put a new heart inside of you, renew your mind, so that by the time you get out of that situation, you're a new creation. By the time you get out of that situation, you are ready and submitted to the will of God. That you're not getting out to go back to the same person that you are. You're not getting out to go back to the same habits, but you're getting out of that place transformed. And that might take time, So God will work with you during that period of the wilderness. You'll become more prayerful. You'll read the word of God more. You'll know God more for yourself. You'll have a genuine hunger and thirst for God. And you will know that all along God has been right. And whatever He says is true. One thing I've learned in my life is that God is always right. You cannot debate with God. You want to try it? Just try. Go your path. See where it takes you. Try God's path. See where it takes you. Trust me, you will never regret taking the path of God because God is always right. He never lies and He knows our future. As human beings, we think we are wise, we think we're intelligent outside of God. And there's a Bible verse that says that there's a way that seems right to a man, but it leads to destruction. So if you're making decisions outside of the will of God, they may seem right to us, they may seem okay. You want to marry this guy. He's not a born again believer, but you say he treats me right, he's kind, he's this. All right, that's okay. But he's not a believer. Marriage is supposed to symbolize the relationship between Jesus and the church. So if he's not a believer, how is he symbolizing that? One time that marriage will get difficult for you. And I'm not trying to prophesy evil. It's just that light and darkness cannot work together. They may be good in character, but you never know what happens later, right? So the path of God will always lead to life, but our own path will lead to destruction, So it's always good to follow the path of God. So let me get back to my point. So when you're in that season, God is trying to work in your heart. God is trying to bring you closer to Him. God is trying to enlighten your mind to things that you didn't know. And it can be a beautiful time if you're submitted to God. Because that's the time actually God revealed to me my calling, my assignment during that same wilderness season. So God doesn't waste any season in our lives. He knows how to turn pain into purpose. So in that season, maximize your time and relationship with God. You're still in that season, you still don't have a job. You're still in that season, you're not yet married. You're still in that season, you don't have food or whatever challenge you're facing. Even in that season, maximize your time and intimacy with God. Because it is during that time that you can hear the voice of God even more clearly. You don't have distractions around you. Your heart longs for God, deeper than ever. Take that time to learn God, right? And you have to be patient. Wow, you have to be patient. You can never hurry God. If there's something that God has taught me, He has got His own timetable and we can't hurry it. I don't know if I should say this. Maybe I should say this. So before I got married, of course I was desiring to get married and I was longing to get married. And that every year, you see the way the year begins, you start with new resolutions. This year, I prophesy I'm going to get married by the end of the year. That was my song. Like every year I will prophesy that. And guess what? It didn't happen. Yes, I could be in a few relationships, but they didn't work out. And so the year that I came to surrender, I remember that year, just surrendering myself to God and saying, you know what, God, I am tired. I'm tired of putting timelines on this thing called marriage. I am tired of hoping every year by the end of the year, I'm going to get married and then it doesn't happen. I am tired. So I told God, you know what, from today, my timelines, I take them off. Do it at your time. I'm no longer interested. Like I was mad and tired at the same time. I'm like, you know what, God, do it. If you're going to do it when I'm 40, that's up to you. But I'm no longer going to work with my timelines because I've been getting disappointed every year. And guess what? Talk about God humbling someone. That was the year that God showed up. That was the year that God gave me my partner. The year that I had surrendered and I had stopped forcing my timelines with God. Clearly, we cannot rush God, right? So you could be in that season where you're waiting for something and it seems to have taken so long. Just be patient, darling, because we cannot rush God. He will do it at His time. God wants you to surrender. He wants you to give it up to Him. Give it up for Him. Yeah. I used to think that if I don't tell and remind God every day about this, then He's going to forget it. And He'll put that, at a shelf somewhere. I forgot that God knows everything. That God is still in charge. So whatever I was doing was being propelled by fear and anxiety. It wasn't faith. Right? It wasn't faith. So check your motives. Right? And final point that I'd like to say is that God will never leave you nor forsake you. He won't leave you there. Trust me, God won't leave you there. How many people do I know who have been waiting to get jobs even for years, and we even think at some point you have prayed for the person, we're thinking, where? Okay, God, but God shows up. Whether it will take 5 years, whatever time, God shows up at the end of the day. And that is true. I have seen God showing up. At the end of the day, God will show up. It doesn't matter how long you've been jobless. It doesn't matter how long you've been single. God will show up for you. Surrender. Leave it to God. Leave it to God. You might be saying, you don't know my situation. You don't know what I'm going through. You have no idea. Let me tell you, I have no idea about your situation, but I have an idea about what God can do. I have an idea of what God is capable of doing in your life, no matter the circumstance. If He did it for me, He can do it for you. It's not a cliche, it's real. Some of the impossible things that I thought in my life, God made them possible. Some of the things that people say that will never happen, God did them. At the end of the day, our life is governed by God. And God doesn't seek the approval of man to bless us. What am I here to tell you? It is God who will change your life. It is not man. You don't need man to turn around your life. You just need God. So just stay still with God. Remain in Him. Be obedient to Him. Walk in His ways. Follow Him. Sacrifice all that you need to sacrifice to live a life of purity and humility before the Lord. Do God's work. Serve God. And watch what God will do. People may say a lot of stuff about you, but don't believe them. You just wait on God. You just wait. You're going to see it. Let me end it there because I may talk the whole day. Let me just end with this verse kindly. It's in Proverbs chapter 23, verse 17 to 18 says, do not let your heart envy sinners, but always be zealous for the fear of the Lord. There is surely a future hope for you, and your hope will not be cut off. I love that. Don't envy other people. Don't envy their lifestyle and all that's going on in their life. Be zealous for the fear of the Lord. What does that mean? Be passionate about the fear of God. Put God first. Fear God. Let that be your mandate. Let that be your goal. And the word says there's surely a future hope for you. There's a future hope for the person who fears God. And that is true. I have seen it in my life. It's not about just reading a Bible verse. I've seen it unfold in my life. If you fear God, just give Him time. Just give Him time. There is guaranteed a future for you. There is guaranteed a sure hope for your life. I'm speaking to someone. I want your spirit to be revived. I want your hope to come alive today and believe what God says about your future. That if you are zealous for His fear God, there's a guaranteed future for you. Just wait and watch and see what God can do. Be blessed. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If you want me to pray for you, please let's do that. But may God bless you, strengthen you, and revive your spirit for His glory. Be blessed.